Do you want to learn an hour's worth of things you did not know? Subscribe and let's begin. The Bagger 293 is not just an excavator, it is a structure about 315 feet tall that looks like a moving city and holds the record for the heaviest land vehicle in the world. It is used in Germany to chew through entire layers of earth and coal, moving up to about 8,470,000 cubic feet per day. The most shocking part is that to move it from one mine to another, they have to cut roads and power lines because nothing in its path is big enough to get out of the way. The trial of Pope Formosus, known as the Cadaver Synod, sounds like something out of a nightmare. In the 9th century, Pope Stephen VI ordered the body of his predecessor dug up, addressed it in papal robes, and seated it on a throne to put it on trial for alleged crimes. Since the corpse obviously could not speak, a deacon hid behind the throne to answer on its behalf, in one of the darkest and strangest episodes in Vatican history. The space growth spurt happens because in zero gravity, an astronaut's spine expands without Earth's weight compressing the intervertebral discs. This can make them grow up to about 2 inches temporarily, although the process often comes with intense back pain. When they return home, gravity does its job, and within a few days they go back to their normal height, as if the body snapped back into place. The missile crisis of 1962 almost ended in nuclear war, and it was avoided thanks to a secret conversation in the Occidental restaurant in Washington. An ABC journalist, John Scali, and a Soviet spy, Alexander Fomin, met clandestinely to propose a deal their governments could not officially discuss. It was pure behind-the-scenes diplomacy to keep no one from pressing the red button by mistake. The Lockheed SR-71 Blackbird was so fast that its main defense against a missile was simply to accelerate and leave it behind. It was built almost entirely out of titanium to withstand extreme friction heat, and the curious part is that on the ground, it leaked fuel because its body panels were designed to fit perfectly only when the metal expanded during supersonic flight. Göbekli Tepe is about 11,600 years old, making it thousands of years older than the pyramids in Stonehenge. What completely puzzles archaeologists is that it was built by hunter-gatherers, and are people who supposedly did not have the organization needed for megalithic construction. This discovery suggests that religion and temples came before agriculture and cities, changing what we thought we knew about the origin of civilization. The mystery spot in California is a place where the laws of physics seem to stop working. Water appears to flow uphill and people lean at impossible angles without falling. In reality, it is a masterclass in optical illusion, built on a very slanted ground that confuses your inner ear and brain, making you lose your sense of what is truly vertical. The Battle of Stalingrad was the bloodiest stage of the Second World War, with soldiers fighting room by room in what they called the Rat War. It lasted almost 6 months, and the level of brutality was so extreme that the city was reduced to total rubble. It stands as the ultimate symbol of extreme resistance and how human conflict can reach almost unimaginable levels of horror. The mystery of the Mary Celeste is the ultimate ghost ship story. It was found sailing perfectly fine in 1872, with food on the table and cargo intact, but without a single trace of the crew. There were no signs of a struggle or a storm. They simply vanished. The most accepted theory today is that an alcohol vapor leak frightened the captain and everyone jumped into the lifeboat, which was later lost in the vast ocean. Jack the Ripper became a myth not only because of his crimes, but because of how he taunted the police by sending mocking letters from hell. Even though London was on high alert and there were hundreds of suspects from butchers to aristocrats, his identity was never confirmed. Today, and more than a century later, the case remains the most famous unsolved puzzle in criminology. Greek fire was the secret weapon of the Byzantines and worked like the napalm of the ancient world. It was a chemical mixture launched with siphons, and unlike normal fire, water did not put it out, but made it burn even stronger, even on the sea. It was so valuable that its exact formula was kept under lock and key, and was ultimately lost forever when the empire fell. Exercise on the International Space Station is a matter of survival because without gravity, bones and muscles deteriorate incredibly fast. Astronauts have to train about 2 hours a day using special machines with harnesses and elastic cords that simulate body weight. Without this intense training, and when they return to Earth, their bones would be so fragile they could break just from the effort of walking. The hummingbird is a marvel of biological engineering. It is the only bird that can fly backward and hover in midair, thanks to its wings rotating in a figure-8 pattern. To maintain that pace, its heart can beat up to 1,200 times per minute, which means it lives constantly on the edge of its energy limits and must feed on nectar nonstop to survive. DNA printing allows us today to write life the same way we write software code on a computer. There are machines that print genetic chains letter by letter, opening the door to creating custom bacteria that can eat plastic or produce specific medicines. It is a technology with infinite potential, but it also raises ethical dilemmas about how far we should go in redesigning nature. Mansa Musa was so unimaginably rich that his journey to Mecca changed the economy of all North Africa. He carried so much gold and gave away so much of it while passing through Egypt that the value of the metal collapsed, causing massive inflation that took more than 10 years to recover from. He is literally the man who broke the gold market simply by being generous. The Island of the Dolls in Xochimilco is a creepy place where thousands of old broken dolls hang from the trees. The original owner, Julian Santana, began placing them to calm the spirit of a girl he believed was haunting him. Over time, the site filled with legends of disappearances and strange phenomena, turning it into a cult destination for those seeking real paranormal experiences. Lighter technology has changed archaeology forever. In Cambodia, it allowed researchers to digitally strip away dense jungle and uncover Mahendraparvata, a massive medieval city that had been hidden for centuries. The incredible part is that it was not just a temple, but a complex urban network that could have housed nearly 1 million people, revealing that the Khmer Empire was far larger and more advanced than textbooks claimed. The Plexus works by Gabriel Daw are an optical illusion brought to life. He uses miles of colorful embroidery, threads stretched with mathematical precision to create structures that look like solid beams of light or rainbows frozen in midair. The magic is that depending on where you stand, the installation changes shape and color, playing with how your eye perceives the color spectrum. Volcano boarding is the ultimate sport for adrenaline addicts, especially on Cerro Negro volcano in Nicaragua. You slide down a slope of volcanic ash on a reinforced wooden board at speeds that can exceed about 50 miles per hour. The wildest part is that since it is an active volcano, the surface is hot and the landscape feels alien, turning a simple descent into an extreme experience. The crinkle-crankle walls of England are a stroke of simple engineering genius. Although they look wavy purely for style, that curved shape gives them structural stability that a straight wall does not have. Thanks to the curves, the wall can stand with just a single layer of bricks and no buttresses, ironically using less material than a straight thick wall. Staying at the Adachi Ryokan in Fukushima is a journey into traditional Japan. Anase, its main attraction is an outdoor onsen that looks like a river of steaming bluish water surrounded by nature. It is the perfect place to disconnect, where mineral-rich water and old wooden architecture make you feel like time stopped a couple of centuries ago. The hula burger was McDonald's great failed experiment of the 1960s to attract Catholics who did not eat meat on Fridays. Instead of beef, it had a grilled slice of pineapple and cheese. In the end, it competed against the Filet-O-Fish in a sales test and lost badly. People like pineapple, just not enough to make it the heart of a burger. The robot Stan is the valet parking system of the future. It is an autonomous platform that slides under your car, gently lifts it by the wheels, and parks it with pinpoint precision. It can work 20 hours straight, and because it optimizes parking space perfectly, it allows many more cars to fit in the same area without humans having to maneuver. The largest pizza in the world, nicknamed the Big New Yorker, shattered records in Los Angeles with nearly 14 million square feet. An entire hangar was needed to cook it in sections using mobile heating devices. The best part of this feat was not just its size, but that nothing was wasted. 68,000 slices were donated to food banks and charities. If you suspect your cat has been up to something, ultraviolet light is your best ally. Cat urine contains porphyrins and other proteins that glow yellowish or greenish under black light. It is a classic cleaning trick because it helps you find stains invisible to the human eye that, if not thoroughly cleaned, will keep smelling for a long time. Real wasabi served in high-end restaurants has nothing to do with the spicy green paste from the supermarket, which is usually horseradish with food coloring. The real thing is grated from the root of Wasabia japonica, a plant that takes years to grow and needs crystal clear running water. Its flavor is far more complex and delicate, and the most curious part is that it loses its punch just 15 minutes after being grated. Orcas are military strategists of the ocean. One of their most famous tactics is wave washing. They swim in perfect formation toward an ice floe to create a coordinated wave that knocks a seal straight into the water. And this shows not only their intelligence, but also that they have culture, since these techniques are taught from generation to generation within the pod. The robot Anna represents a step forward in domestic artificial intelligence. Unlike standard vacuum cleaners, it is trained to understand the geometry of real homes. It can identify objects, avoid complex obstacles, and adapt its cleaning to the specific shape of each room. It is a preview of robotic assistants that actually understand how a human home works. Seeing an asteroid hit the moon is a reminder that space is in constant motion. Since the moon has no atmosphere to burn up space rocks, even small asteroids strike the surface directly, creating flashes of light that can sometimes be seen from Earth with telescopes. It is a stunning visual spectacle that shows the continuous formation of new craters. NASA is developing a snake robot called EELS, designed to explore Enceladus, a moon of Saturn. This mechanical snake can crawl through cracks in the ice and descend into underground oceans in search of signs of life. Its shape allows it to adapt to terrain where wheeled robots would get stuck, making it one of the most ambitious bets yet in the search for extraterrestrial life. Pearls are born from a defense mechanism. When a grain of sand or a parasite enters an oyster, it begins secreting layers of nacre to isolate the intruder. Over the years, that protective process creates a shiny, perfect sphere. What we see as a luxury jewel was simply the oyster's way of keeping something from irritating it inside its shell. The Schmidt Pain Index is a scientific but very curious list created by Justin Schmidt, who let himself be stung by almost 80 species of insects in order to classify them. The scale goes from 1, like a small spark, to 4, like walking on burning coals with a rusty nail in your heel. His description of the bullet ant's sting as the most intense pain in the world is legendary in biology. Ostriches are elite athletes. They can maintain a constant speed of about 43 miles per hour, which makes them the fastest birds on land. Their legs are so powerful that a single kick can be lethal, even to a lion. On top of that, they can take strides of up to about 16 feet, which lets them cover huge distances in seconds when they feel threatened. Romanesco broccoli is proof that nature loves mathematics. It grows forming perfect fractals, where each small floret has the same shape as the whole piece, repeating itself in a logarithmic spiral. Besides being edible and nutritious, it is a visual example of the Fibonacci sequence in the plant world. As strange as it sounds, rabbits know how to swim, and they do it quite well, using their powerful hind legs to propel themselves. It is not something they do for fun, since they prefer solid ground, but if they are cornered by a predator or need to cross a canal to reach food, they jump into the water without hesitation as an effective survival tactic. The Asiana Airlines flight incident feels like something out of an action movie. A passenger managed to open the emergency door when the plane was still about 656 feet above the ground just before landing. The terrifying part is that at that height, the pressure difference is not as extreme as at cruising altitude, which allowed the door to give way, leaving passengers exposed to hurricane-force wind. Luckily, the pilot kept control and landed safely, creating one of the most viral and unsettling aviation images in recent years. Hyams Beach in Australia is literally dazzling. It holds the Guinness record for the whitest sand in the world. This is not ordinary sand since it is made almost entirely of pure quartz crystals, which give it a tropical snow-like appearance. It is so bright that on sunny days, sunglasses are basically mandatory to avoid being blinded by the reflection. Robotor is the nightmare or dream of any sculptor. It is a robotic arm equipped with a diamond chisel that can carve massive marble blocks with microscopic precision. It can replicate Renaissance masterpieces almost perfectly, doing in just a few days what would take a human years of manual work. It is the ultimate fusion of classical art and modern automation. High heel racing is a sport that openly challenges physics and balance. In countries like Mexico and Russia, competitions are held where participants must sprint at full speed, wearing shoes at least about 4 inches high. Watching the sprints, and especially the stumbles, is wild. But the most impressive part is the technique they develop to avoid twisting an ankle while chasing the prize. Papua New Guinea is a linguist's paradise. With more than 850 different languages, it is the place with the greatest linguistic diversity on the planet. This happened because its mountainous jungle geography kept tribes isolated for thousands of years, allowing each community to develop its own language. It is so extreme that you can walk just a few miles and meet people who speak something completely unintelligible to their neighbors. As the caterpillar Uraba lugans is known as the Mad Hatter for a very strange reason. Every time it sheds its skin, it keeps the old head capsule and stacks it on top of the new one. Over time, it ends up carrying a tower made of its own past skulls. This is not fashion, and scientists believe the stack helps confuse predators or defend against wasp attacks. The human stomach is an incredibly elastic organ that can expand to hold about 4 gallons of content. Over an average lifetime, it processes between about 33 and 66 tons of food and liquid. It is a chemical demolition machine that uses acids strong enough to dissolve metal protected only by a mucus lining that the body must constantly regenerate. Those famous green codes falling down the screen in the Matrix hide a very ordinary secret. They are sushi recipes. Once the production designer scanned characters from his wife's Japanese cookbooks and mixed them together to create the digital effect. So the true reality behind the Matrix is basically a guide to making fish and rice rolls. Pagani, founded by Argentine Horacio Pagani, is the gold standard of hypercars. Each car is handmade in Italy using exotic materials like carbotanium, which is a mix of carbon fiber and titanium that is incredibly light and strong. Models like the Zonda or the Huayra are considered rolling works of art where every bolt costs hundreds of dollars and is individually designed. Believe it or not, we know more about the surface of Mars than about the bottom of our own oceans. The pressure in the deep sea is so crushing that it is far harder to design machines that can reach the seafloor than spacecraft that travel to space. And down there is no light, and the pressure is like having several elephants standing on your thumb, making it the most hostile and least explored place on Earth. Fleas are the acceleration champions of the animal world. When they jump, they reach forces of up to 100 times gravity in a fraction of a second. To put that in perspective, an astronaut experiences about 3 times gravity during rocket launch. They use an elastic protein called roselin that works like a loaded spring, allowing them to leap distances that would be like a human jumping over the top of a skyscraper. In Canada, a vendor managed to sell bottled hot dog water for $35, marketing it as a miracle health drink. So it was actually a piece of social commentary and a marketing joke meant to show how easy it is to sell absurd products if you use the right words. Even so, people bought it, proving that packaging, design, and advertising can sell almost anything. Forpress is the first table tennis instructor robot, and it uses artificial intelligence to analyze the game of its human opponent. It does not just return the ball, but also studies your posture and stroke speed to give real-time advice. It is the perfect training partner that never gets tired and can adjust its difficulty level to always push you to your limit. Karen's Diner offers a unique experience where the food is good, but the service is intentionally terrible. The servers throw menus, insult you, and mock you throughout the meal. The twist is that the customer has permission to be just as rude within certain limits, turning dinner into a comedy show full of bad attitudes and laughs. The harpy eagle looks like a mythological creature because of its size and almost human-looking face. Its talons are as large as those of a grizzly bear and have crushing power strong enough to pierce skulls. It is an elite hunter in the jungles of the Americas, capable of snatching sloths or monkeys straight from trees and lifting them into flight even if they weigh more than the bird itself. Space is completely silent because sound needs a medium like air or water to travel. Since space is a vacuum, sound waves have nowhere to move. Huge explosions in space would be totally silent to us. You would only hear something if you were touching another spacecraft or inside a suit with oxygen where sound can propagate. Anton Moses is an environmental hero who took reforestation to the next level by planting more than 23,000 trees in just 24 hours. To do it, he had to keep a relentless pace, planting one tree every few seconds without stopping. His feat is a world record that shows how individual determination can have a massive impact on forest recovery. In China, a very strange snack went viral: grilled ice cubes. They are placed over hot coals topped with oil, spices, and sauces and served before they fully melt. It is a street food trend that plays with thermal contrast and texture, being more of a sensory and visual experience for social media than actual nutrition. The world's ugliest dog contest in California is not about mocking animals, but about celebrating inner beauty and promoting the adoption of rescue dogs. In 2023, the winner was Scooter, a crested Chihuahua with inverted back legs. Despite his unusual appearance, Scooter became a symbol of resilience and joy, reminding us that love does not follow beauty standards. The city of Chongqing is an infrastructure labyrinth. Because of its extremely mountainous terrain, the subway system has to pass directly through apartment buildings. There is a famous station where the train literally enters through the 6th floor of a residential building. Engineers designed advanced noise insulation, so residents barely feel any vibration as the cars pass through their living rooms. Louis is a legend of longevity. In this 132-year-old lobster avoided ending up on a plate after spending 2 decades in a New York restaurant tank. In 2017, the owner decided it deserved to go home and released it, weighing about 22 pounds. The most amazing part is that lobsters have an enzyme that repairs their DNA, which technically means they do not age like we do and could live far longer if not for predators or disease. It is fascinating to see how a plastic bottle starts life as a small rigid tube called a preform that looks like a threaded test tube. At the factory, these preforms are heated until the plastic becomes moldable and then placed into a mold where high-pressure air inflates them like a balloon, giving them their final shape in seconds. And this blowing process is what allows thousands of bottles to be made per hour efficiently. The most exclusive caviar comes from the albino beluga sturgeon and is known as almas, which means diamond in Persian. This delicacy can reach about $11,300 per pound because the sturgeon must be nearly 100 years old to produce these pale-colored eggs. It is traditionally served in tiny portions and eaten with mother-of-pearl or bone spoons, since metal could alter its delicate flavor. Manshat Nasser, known as the City of Trash in Cairo, is an extreme example of a circular economy. Its residents, the Zabaleen, collect waste from the entire metropolis and have achieved recycling rates of up to 80%, outperforming many Western cities. And then each family specializes in a specific material like plastic, paper, or metal, turning what others throw away into their main source of income. Dying in the vacuum of space would completely change the decomposition process we know. Without oxygen, the aerobic bacteria that normally break down the body could not function, and the extreme cold or intense heat of direct solar radiation would mummify or freeze the remains. In the end, the body would become a kind of biological time capsule, drifting through the cosmos for eons, almost intact. The squidworm Toothododrillus sami looks like something straight out of an alien movie. It has 10 front appendages that it uses to detect food and swim in the depths of the Celebes Sea. Not with its brown, gelatinous body and strange head tentacles, This relatively recent discovery shows that we still do not know even a fraction of the bizarre creatures living on the ocean floor. Nature sometimes seems to enjoy crafting art, and the succulent Senecio peregrinus proves it. Its leaves grow in such a perfect shape of jumping dolphins that it is also known as the dolphin necklace plant. It is highly sought after by collectors because as it grows and trails downward, it creates the visual illusion of a pod of dolphins leaping through the air. The HZ-1 Aerocycle was a bold attempt from the 1950s to give every soldier a personal stand-up helicopter. The design was terrifying with the pilot standing directly above massive, rapidly spinning blades. Although it was thought to be easy to control, it turned out to be unstable and extremely dangerous. So the project was canceled after several accidents proved it was not the best idea for the battlefield. When you face extreme cold, your body switches into survival mode through peripheral vasoconstriction. Basically, the brain decides to sacrifice your extremities to save your vital organs by reducing blood flow to the hands and feet to keep the heart and lungs warm. This is what causes frostbite because without warm blood, the water inside skin cells can crystallize. The color purple is almost absent from the flags of the world. Only Dominica and Nicaragua include it, and only in very small amounts. The reason is purely economic. Historically, purple dye was extracted from thousands of sea snails and was so expensive that only royalty could afford it. By the time synthetic dye was invented in the late 19th century, most countries already had their flags designed and did not want to change their identity. Facing the robo-keeper is almost frustrating for any professional soccer player. This robotic goalkeeper uses high-speed cameras to analyze the ball's trajectory 90 times per second. Thanks to its processor, it can predict where the ball will go even before the player finishes the kicking motion. It has managed to stop penalty kicks from stars like Messi and Neymar, proving that artificial intelligence precision is hard to beat. In 2010, McDonald's Japan decided the best way to train new employees was through the Nintendo DS. They created an exclusive video game called eCrew Development Program that simulated every restaurant task from frying fries to dealing with difficult customers. Today, the few cartridges that survived are extremely rare and expensive collector items in the video game market. The orchid Anguloa uniflora is famous for its incredible resemblance to a small cradle with a baby wrapped in blankets inside. Native to the Andes, this flower is not only visually beautiful, but also releases a strong, sweet scent to attract pollinators. It is one of the most tender examples of how evolution can. At the end of the 19th century, looking up at the sky in Manhattan meant seeing a suffocating web of thousands of telephone and electrical cables blocking out the sun. Everything changed after the Great White Hurricane of 1888, a snowstorm so brutal that it tore down much of this infrastructure, leaving the city cut off and in danger. This disaster forced authorities to bury all the wiring, giving rise to the clear skyline we see today. In the middle of the Dubai desert rises the Miracle Garden, the largest natural flower garden on the planet. It features more than 109 million flowers, arranged in incredible shapes, including a full-size Airbus A380 airplane completely covered in vegetation. Oh, and the most impressive part is its irrigation system, which recycles the city's wastewater to keep this oasis alive under the intense sun of the Emirates. La Rosie is not just a school, it is the most exclusive club in the world for the children of the global elite. With tuition of about $130,000 per year, it offers two campuses, one main campus for summer, and another in the Alps for winter, where students can ski every afternoon. Its facilities include a nautical center, a professional theater, and a ratio of one teacher for every 4 students. The most expensive dress in the world, designed by Faisali Abdullah, was presented in 2009 and is valued at $30 million. Even known as the Nightingale of Kuala Lumpur, it is made of taffeta and silk, but its astronomical price comes from the 751 diamonds embedded in it, including a central pear-shaped diamond of 70 carats. It is more a piece of high jewelry than a traditional garment. In the internet domain market, the name is everything, and Cars.com takes the crown with a record valuation of $872 million. This price was not just for the name itself, but for the market value and massive traffic generated by such a generic and sought-after word in the automotive sector. It is a reminder that in the digital economy, a strategic web address can be worth more than many corporate headquarters. Nacreous clouds are a dreamlike visual spectacle, but they only occur under extreme cold conditions in the stratosphere. Their bright colors are caused by the diffraction of sunlight through tiny ice crystals. Although they are beautiful, they have a darker side because they enable chemical reactions that destroy the ozone layer, so scientists monitor them closely as an environmental indicator. If you have blue eyes, you share a genetic link with everyone else who has that color. They all descend from a single ancestor who lived between 6,000 and 10,000 years ago. Originally, all humans had brown eyes, but a genetic mutation turned off pigment production in the front of the iris. This mutation spread from the Black Sea region, creating the trait now shared by millions of people. The iCam, also known as ICAM, is a webcam that takes the idea of feeling watched to a literal and unsettling level. It has the shape and texture of a human eye. It blinks, looks around, and even frowns to express emotions. It was created by researchers to make us reflect on our relationship with the smart devices around us. The most interesting part is that it is open source, meaning anyone with a three-dimensional printer and some robotics knowledge can build their own watching eye at home. Hummingbirds live at such a frantic pace that to avoid starving during the night or in freezing climates, they enter a state called torpor. It is a kind of short-term hibernation where they lower their body temperature from about 104 degrees Fahrenheit to around 50 degrees Fahrenheit and drastically reduce their heart rate. This allows them to conserve vital energy, although when they wake up, they need time to warm up before they can fly again. Microbursts are a weather phenomenon deeply respected by pilots. They are columns of cold air that collapse from a storm and slam into the ground with the force of a giant hammer. When the air hits the surface, it spreads outward violently with gusts of up to about 150 miles per hour. They are powerful enough to knock down trees, damage structures, and cause aviation accidents if they occur near a runway, acting like an inverted mini tornado. Thanks to Braille mode on smartphones, blind people can type with surprising speed. Instead of using a visual keyboard, the screen becomes a sensitive panel where combinations of 6 dots are formed with the fingers to create letters. Combined with gestures and haptic feedback, this system allows a visually impaired person to write messages and emails with the same fluency and privacy as any other user. A very strange side effect of certain chemotherapy treatments, such as capecitabine, is the temporary loss of fingerprints. This happens due to inflammation in the palms of the hands and soles of the feet, which causes the skin to peel and become completely smooth. Although this leads to curious logistical problems, like not being able to unlock a phone or having trouble with immigration procedures, fingerprints usually regenerate and return to normal a few weeks after treatment ends. If roller coaster loops were perfect circles, the centrifugal force when entering them would be so abrupt that passengers could be injured or pass out. That is why engineers design loops in a teardrop shape using a technique known as a clothoid. This geometry allows acceleration to change gradually and smoothly, keeping the thrill of inversion while ensuring the human body can safely handle the G-forces. The emotional intelligence of whales is astonishing, and it has been documented that some species use their pectoral fins to hug each other. This physical contact is not accidental brushing, but serves to reduce group stress, show affection, and strengthen social bonds between individuals. It is a reminder that the need for touch and care is something we share with the largest mammals in the ocean. The sculpture, Rolling Through the Bay, is a monument to patience. Scott Weaver spent more than 35 years building it with over 100,000 toothpicks. Hornet represents the most iconic places in San Francisco, but the most incredible part is that it includes integrated ramps where ping-pong balls can roll, creating a dynamic journey through the wooden city. It is a perfect blend of homemade engineering and detailed art. Artist Masayoshi Matsumoto takes balloon art to an almost biological level. He creates hyper-realistic figures of insects, jellyfish, and plants using only balloons without glue tape or markers. His ability to fold and twist latex lets him replicate complex textures and anatomy so precisely that his works look like glass or solid plastic sculptures, challenging what we believe is possible with such a simple material. The polar plunge is a challenge that consists of jumping into icy water in the middle of winter, a tradition practiced from frozen lakes in Canada to the coasts of Antarctica. Although it sounds like torture to many those who do, it seeks the massive rush of adrenaline and endorphins triggered by thermal shock. Beyond the personal challenge, most of these events are held to raise money for charitable causes, turning extreme cold into an act of solidarity. Hair turns gray not because it gains a new color, but because it loses the one it had. Inside hair follicles are cells called melanocytes that produce melanin, the natural pigment. With age or stress, these cells stop working or die, and hair begins to grow without pigment, making it appear transparent or white. The gray effect is simply the visual result of white hairs mixing with those that still have color. Wellington, the capital of New Zealand, holds the title of the windiest city on the planet. Its position by the Cook Strait creates a tunnel effect that channels and accelerates ocean winds, making strong gusts a daily part of life for residents. Extreme wind is so common that the city has had to adapt its architecture and signage so the air does not become a constant danger for pedestrians. Despite its global success, McDonald's in Vietnam failed to connect with the local public. The main reason is the country's incredible street food culture. Dishes like banh mi or PRO are cheaper, served faster, and have flavors far more familiar to the population. Either, for many Vietnamese, a chain hamburger is seen as an expensive product that cannot compete with the freshness and seasoning of traditional food found on every corner. Artist Erwin Wurm transforms everyday objects into surreal pieces, with his fat cars being among his most famous works. He uses polyurethane foam and polystyrene over real car structures to make them look as if they gained an exaggerated amount of weight. Through these sculptures, Wurm humorously criticizes consumerism and obsession with status, turning symbols of perfect engineering into soft, rounded, almost organic forms. Kelvin Helmholtz clouds are one of the rarest and most beautiful phenomena in the sky, looking like giant waves breaking in the atmosphere. They form when two layers of air move at different speeds, with the faster upper layer pulling on the lower one, creating those perfectly curled crests. They last only a few minutes before dissipating, so seeing them is a stroke of incredible luck for any weather observer. Atlas, the robot from Boston Dynamics, is the elite athlete of the robotics world. What began as a clumsy prototype is now a humanoid capable of parkour, jumping between platforms and performing flips with almost human agility. It was designed for search and rescue missions in terrain where wheeled vehicles cannot go, using a complex balance system that lets it recover even after a strong push. Neil Harbison is officially the first cyborg recognized by a government. He was born with achromatopsia, a condition that allows him to see only in black and white, so he decided to implant an antenna into his skull that translates color frequencies into sound vibrations. This lets him hear colors, including ranges humans cannot perceive, like infrared and ultraviolet, turning his visual perception into a constant auditory experience. The life of Margaret Ann is a living historical record because she was one of the very few people who lived across 3 different centuries. Born at the end of the 19th century, she lived through the entire 20th century and witnessed the beginning of the 21st century, experiencing changes that feel almost impossible. In a single lifetime, she saw the invention of the automobile and the airplane, as well as the arrival of the internet and the exploration of other planets. The Tibetan white yak is a sacred genetic rarity of the Himalayan highlands, surviving where almost no other mammal can. Its fur is incredibly dense and made of 2 layers, a long outer coat and a woolly inner layer that traps body heat, allowing it to endure temperatures as low as -40 degrees Fahrenheit. Its blood also has a higher oxygen carrying capacity than that of other cattle, which is a crucial evolutionary adaptation for surviving the extreme altitude of Tibet. Chicken Island, also known as Koh Kai in Thailand, is famous for its unusual rock formation, which from the sea looks like the neck and head of a giant bird. What makes this place a true natural spectacle is that during low tide, a strip of white sand appears connecting it to the neighboring islands of Koh Tap and Koh Mor, allowing visitors to literally walk across the ocean between coral formations. Keeping a children's ball pit hygienic seems like an impossible mission, but it is handled with specialized machines that work like high-speed industrial vacuums. These machines can suck up to 20,000 balls per hour, run them through a washing tunnel with disinfectants and water jets, and dry them before returning them to the play area, removing bacteria and dirt on a massive scale to keep children safe. Erta Ale is known as the Gate of Hell in Ethiopia and is one of the few volcanoes in the world that has maintained a persistent lava lake in its crater for decades. Located in the Afar Depression where tectonic plates are pulling apart, it offers a hypnotic display of molten rock, bubbling and glowing intensely in one of the hottest and driest environments on Earth. Earth began its story about 4,600 million years ago as a blazing mass of molten rock in a violent young solar system. It formed through the collision and fusion of countless asteroid fragments and dust clouds orbiting the newborn sun in a process called accretion. Over time, gravity caused heavier elements like iron to sink and form the core, while gases released by volcanic activity created our primitive atmosphere. Operation Bernhard was the largest counterfeiting operation in history carried out by the Nazis during the Second World War. They recruited skilled prisoners in concentration camps to produce nearly perfect British pound notes, with the goal of dropping them over Great Britain to trigger hyperinflation and destroy its financial system. The quality was so high that even the Bank of England struggled to tell the fake bills from the real ones. The Palio of Siena is not just a horse race, but a battle of pride between the districts of this Italian city that dates back to the 17th century. It is run bareback through the narrow and dangerous Piazza del Campo, and the most curious rule is that the official winner is the horse, not the rider. If the horse crosses the finish line first, even if the jockey fell during the 3 laps, the district still takes the trophy in the historical glory. The Super Bowl is the ultimate cultural and commercial phenomenon in the United States, attracting more than 100 million viewers every year. Beyond American football, the event is famous for its economic impact as brands pay millions of dollars for ads lasting just 30 seconds, and it is the biggest food consumption day in the country after Thanksgiving, with massive amounts of chicken wings and guacamole eaten nationwide. The first photograph of a person was taken in 1838 by Louis Daguerre on the Boulevard du Temple in Paris. Because the exposure time lasted several minutes, moving carriages and pedestrians vanished from the image. However, in one corner, the silhouette of a man having his boots shined is visible, and because he remained still throughout the process, he accidentally became the first human ever captured in a photograph. Kabuki is the traditional theatrical art of Japan, where male actors perform all roles, including female ones. It is known for kumadori, an elaborate makeup style in which each color represents an emotion, with red symbolizing passion and blue symbolizing evil. The stages feature a runway called the Hanamiki that cuts through the audience, allowing dramatic entrances and exits that are essential to the storytelling. The saltwater crocodile is a true prehistoric monster and the largest living reptile on the planet, reaching lengths of up to about 23 feet. It can live in estuaries and venture into the open ocean, allowing it to travel huge distances between islands. Its bite is the strongest ever recorded in the animal kingdom, capable of exerting nearly 8,800 pounds of pressure, which lets it hunt prey as large as water buffalo. Although Ushuaia was long considered the southernmost city, that official title now belongs to Puerto Williams on Navarino Island in Chile. Located along the Beagle Channel, it is a town that blends naval life with extreme adventure tourism. It serves as a gateway to landscapes dominated by glaciers, subantarctic forests, and the famous Diente de Navarino, which is the southernmost hiking route in the world. The release of Pong in 1972 marked the beginning of the modern video game industry. It was originally designed as a practice exercise by engineer Alan Alcorn for the company Atari, but its success was so overwhelming that the first machine installed in a local bar broke down after just a few days, simply because the coin container became so full that the mechanism jammed. Hanami is much more than flower viewing. and represents a celebration of the transient nature of life in Japanese culture. People gather under blooming cherry trees to have picnics and enjoy the scenery. The most anticipated moment is Sakura Fubuki, when the petals begin to fall like a gentle pink snowfall, symbolizing fleeting beauty that must be appreciated in the present. The porcupine carries an arsenal of up to 30,000 quills, but contrary to popular belief, it does not shoot them like projectiles. And the quills detach easily on contact and are covered in microscopic barbs that act like hooks embedding deeply into an attacker's tissue. Interestingly, the quills are coated with natural antibiotics, which helps prevent the animal from getting infected if it accidentally pokes itself. The coelacanth is the most famous living fossil in biology, having been thought extinct, alongside the dinosaurs, about 66 million years ago. Its rediscovery in 1938 off the coast of South Africa shocked the scientific world. It is unique because it has lobed fins with a bone structure similar to the limbs of land animals, making it a key species for understanding how vertebrates transition from water to land. And the bullet ant holds the record for the most painful insect sting known, and the pain is described as pure, sharp, and relentless, like being shot, which is where its name comes from. It is also called the 24-hour ant because that is how long the venom's effects last. In some Amazonian cultures, such as the Satre Mawe, young men must place their hands into gloves filled with these ants to prove their passage into adulthood, enduring the pain without making a sound. The Jackson's chameleon looks like a tiny prehistoric creature thanks to the 3 horns that males display on their heads, resembling a miniature triceratops. Native to the forests of Kenya and Tanzania, this reptile not only changes color for camouflage, but also reflects its emotional state, becoming more vibrant when threatened or excited. Unlike many other chameleons, they give birth to live young instead of laying eggs. Las Fallas of Valencia are an explosion of art, satire, and fire that transforms the city every March. The monuments, called nine knots, can reach heights of nearly 100 feet and often deliver sharp criticism of politicians or social issues. The climax is the crema, when all of these artworks except one, saved by popular vote, are burned in massive bonfires, symbolizing renewal and the arrival of spring. Johann Sebastian Bach was a genius whose productivity extended beyond music, as he had 20 children across his 2 marriages to Maria Barbara and Anna Magdalena. Although many did not survive childhood, 4 of them became influential composers who helped bridge the Baroque and classical eras. The Bach household was essentially a permanent music school, where composing, rehearsing, and teaching happened daily. The first digital photograph in history was not taken with a camera, but with a drum scanner. In 1957, Russell Kirsch digitized a photo of his son Walden in a laboratory in the United States. The image was a tiny square of 176 by 176 black and white pixels, yet it marked the beginning of the digital age. Kirsch did it simply to prove that a computer could see and store visual information, which was unthinkable at the time. Before becoming the giant we know today, Google was originally called Backrub. Larry Page and Sergey Brin chose the name because the search engine analyzed backlinks to determine a website's importance. Soon after they changed it to Google, a wordplay based on the mathematical term Google, meaning one followed by 100 zeros, symbolizing their mission to organize an almost infinite amount of information. The Narmer palette is considered the birth certificate of Egypt. Dated to around 3100 before Christ, this carved stone shows King Narmer unifying Upper and Lower Egypt under a single rule for the first time. It is crucial because it established artistic conventions that lasted 3,000 years, including hierarchical scale profile views and the use of religious symbols to legitimize pharaonic power. After his victory and death at the Battle of Trafalgar, Admiral Nelson's body had to cross the ocean to return home, and to prevent decomposition, sailors placed it in a barrel of brandy. The legend says the crew secretly drank from the barrel during the voyage, which gave rise to the naval expression tapping the admiral, meaning to drink on the sly. Otoshi-dama is one of the most beloved New Year traditions for children in Japan. Adults give decorated envelopes featuring anime characters or traditional designs filled with money. The amount depends on the child's age and family closeness, and for kids it is a perfect chance to learn about saving or to buy that special toy they have wanted all year. The Hercules beetle is the king of brute strength among insects and is said to lift up to 850 times its own weight. Males have massive horns that they use like pincers to fight rivals for territory or mates. Hey, despite their intimidating size and tank-like appearance, they are harmless to humans and spend most of their lives as giant larvae decomposing wood in tropical forests. At the Gordo's restaurant, they serve chocolate ice cream in mini ceramic toilets. The dessert is called chocolate poo and simulates exactly that, a toilet with contents. An experience that mixes humor, controversy, and sweetness. Strange but viral, a craze that's a hit on social media. The Ashera, one of the most expensive cats in the world, combines genes from the domestic cat, the African serval, and the Asian leopard cat. Its spotted fur looks wild, but it's sociable and intelligent. It can measure more than 3 feet long and weigh up to 33 pounds. In Paris, the Escanard is an amphibious bus that travels through the city by land and along the Seine River. A tour that blends history, technology, and navigation. Inspired by military vehicles, it allows you to see the Eiffel Tower and Notre Dame from a new perspective, Paris from the street and from the water. McDonald's in China launched a burger with Oreo cookies, Spam, mayonnaise, and sesame bread, a combination as unlikely as it was viral. A wheeled robot dog paraded at the World Artificial Intelligence Conference, ready to conquer impossible terrain and redefine robotic assistance. A spherical auditorium in Las Vegas held more than 18,000 people, with 16K LED screens and 4D physical effects, positioning itself as the most expensive venue in the city. This was the Blackbeard, a car designed to film chases without destroying real vehicles, chameleon-like and functional for any extreme scene. Senang in China showcased the world's largest bicycle graveyard. Millions of rusty scrap metal pieces formed a landscape that resembled post-apocalyptic art. The marshmallow experiment in the 1970s revealed that children with greater self-control were more successful academically and professionally. Pixel makeup took hold on social media, with faces that looked like they came from retro video games or walking glitches. Eindhoven, the Netherlands, created a 3D printed house in less than 120 hours, living proof that the architectural future already had foundations. In Peru, jockeys participated in a horseless race, running 328 feet on foot as part of an unusual jockey club tradition. A spaghetti-shaped ice cream appeared in Switzerland, with vanilla simulating pasta, strawberry sauce representing tomato sauce, and white chocolate shavings representing grated cheese. Magdeburg fans used colored arrows to guide their players during a match. They scored a goal but lost 2-1. Furkan Adidemir's artificial intelligence reimagined overweight superheroes, breaking down muscular stereotypes and making them more human. Milk mixed with cola triggered an unexpected reaction. Proteins clumped together, clear liquid emerged, and the flavor remained intact. Jan Davis, an engineer from Oregon, lost 4 fingers and built his own functional prosthesis with a 3D printer to resume his normal life. Ken Tornes, dubbed Norway's last Viking, challenged life with extreme jumps, impossible sports, and an unstoppable spirit. A Tesla completed a factory home trip in Austin without human intervention, showing how close we are to fully autonomous driving. An artificially intelligent drone won an international racing competition, beating the best human pilots with superhuman reflexes. Chan Minang, a 74-year-old Chinese bodybuilder, showed off an enviable physique thanks to constant exercise and healthy habits. A restaurant in Singapore served noodles suspended on floating chopsticks, creating an optical illusion that defied gravity and captivated diners. Molecular gastronomy used liquid nitrogen to generate crispy, visually spectacular desserts, science and flavor in a single bite. An artist transformed fruits like apples and pears into hyper-realistic sculptures, ephemeral art that combined nature and human creativity. Chimera cats were born with double DNA, split coats, and unequal eyes, the result of fused embryos. A genetic phenomenon as rare as it is fascinating. Balenciaga launched a bracelet resembling adhesive tape, valued at over $1,200. Fashion crossed the line between luxury and provocation. Scientists in Japan created a soft, robotic tongue that mimicked human textures, with potential medical applications and improvements in interaction with robots. The PBA Tour Playoffs, a bowling tournament that brought together the world's best bowlers, where skill, nerve, and precision defined the season's champion. The transparent salpa, a gelatinous and almost invisible marine creature, filtered phytoplankton and silently contributed to the balance of the oceans. Alberto Olmedo, a stylist from Madrid, used open flames and a blowtorch to style hair. His extreme technique surprised with its precision, texture, and unexpected results. A radical proposal that redefined what it meant to go to the hairdresser. More than 328 feet underground, the Salina Turda salt mine in Romania operated as an underground theme park. With Ferris wheels, mini-golf, and boat rides, the site offered science, health, and entertainment in a magical, salty environment. The CUDA jet allows you to dive up to 131 feet with an underwater propulsion system that reaches depths at a speed of 9.8 feet per second. A combination of adrenaline and marine exploration, it revolutionizes traditional diving with a touch of futuristic technology. In 1886, Carl Benz patented the first car with an internal combustion engine. Although rudimentary, his invention sparked the automotive revolution that shaped the modern world on four wheels. The yellow-headed parrot of South America is surprising for its talent for imitating noises like saws, alarms, and telephones. More than a colorful bird, it is a brilliant mind with an astonishing vocal ability to camouflage itself among human sounds. Frédéric Cuvier discovered the red panda in 1825, a distant cousin of the giant panda and the raccoon. It stands out for its reddish fur, its arboreal habits, and its diet of bamboo. One of the most adorable animals on the planet. Mark Kelly wore a gorilla costume into space and surprised the entire crew on the International Space Station. A comical moment that proves that even in orbit, humor floats without gravity. In China, silver iodide is fired into the sky to modify the weather at events like the Olympic Games, a technique known as cloud seeding, used to induce or prevent rain as needed. In Japan, robotic exoskeletons help the elderly and workers lift weights, walk, or move effortlessly. Wearable technology enhances human strength and improves quality of life with mechanical elegance. Royal Deluxe makes giant puppets up to 49 feet tall that parade through the streets. Mythological creatures, enormous girls, and wooden elephants transform cities into colossal fairy tale settings. In the Netherlands, there are more bicycles than inhabitants. More than 22 million bikes compared to fewer than 18 million people. Bike paths crisscross cities, countryside, and even bridges, all adapted to pedaling. Even in winter, bikes rule the car. The Dragon Boat Festival in China is a high-energy race of decorated boats that commemorates the poet Ku Yuan, who threw himself into the Miluo River in protest. According to legend, people paddled furiously to scare away fish and threw sticky rice dumplings into the water so the fish would not eat his body. Today, it is a colorful celebration of teamwork held on rivers around the world. Every year, the Hallerbos Forest in Belgium transforms into the Blue Forest for a few short weeks. A massive bloom of wild hyacinths creates a purple-blue carpet that looks like something out of a fairy tale. And the phenomenon is so delicate that trails are strictly marked because stepping on the bulbs even once can prevent flowers from growing for years. The Boryong Mud Festival in South Korea began as a marketing strategy to promote the cosmetic benefits of local mineral-rich mud. The idea was so popular that it grew into a massive international celebration. Today, thousands of people travel to wrestle, slide, and dance, while covered in mud on a beach, proving that skincare can also be one of the most fun parties of the summer. The acoustics of the Theater of Epidaurus are a marvel of ancient engineering. If someone drops a coin or whispers at the center of the stage, it can be heard clearly from the last row, nearly 197 feet away. Modern studies suggest the secret lies in the limestone seats, which filter out low-frequency noise, like wind and crowd murmur, while amplifying the higher frequencies of the human voice. The first coins in history were minted in the Kingdom of Lydia, in what is now Turkey, and were made of electrum, a natural alloy of gold and silver. Before this, people traded livestock or metal bars, but these coins carried an official stamp, usually a lion, guaranteeing their value and weight. This invention revolutionized commerce by making trade faster and eliminating the need to carry scales for every transaction. The mountain oriole is a master architect of Central American forests. It builds elongated pouch-shaped nests that can reach lengths of up to about 6.5 feet, hanging from the tips of high branches to avoid predators. Most impressive is that they live in colonies where dozens of these nests dangle from a single tree, looking like giant fruits or natural decorations swaying in the wind. And that is everything, you Zarpado people. Do not forget to subscribe and hit like for more wild curiosities.